Rock Shops' workshops, but I did find with this one, all I did was I just used the piston that's come out of there. It's got a seal on there. It's got like a quad. It's not an O-ring actually. It's a quad seal. Really well put together. To be fair, some good gear inside. So what I just gave it a bit of a wiggle. I just gave it a bit of a wiggle. You know, it doesn't need much force actually, and it comes out reasonably easily. That. See. Oh, if you're lucky, that's called the internal floating piston. Now, it's not done that to me before, but you'll normally pull that shaft from out of there, and this thing will be left inside there. So I'm going to put that back inside there because I want to show you something. Find that that's probably stuck in there. Once you've removed that shaft out of there, that internal floating piston will stay stuck in. So zip ties. Put your zip ties through the middle of the internal floating piston. 5's probably about enough. 5 biggish ones. The more you can fit in, the merrier really, because then you'll definitely be able to pull it out. And then grip them, and then boom, pull that out, pull that piston out, that internal floating piston. There you go. You need to get that out of there, so that shaft's completely free of any obstructions inside. Now then, okay, so I want to put that back in the soft jaws. Just need to clamp it. Doesn't need to be too tight. I don't think on a reverb there's an orientation on this because you've got the holes at the top, but on this it's the same both ways round. Anyway, that goes on there until it fits onto a. You can feel it actually fit. Give it a bit of a wobble around. Once it's in place, it there. So there's like a little, it's slightly raised at the bottom to fit in. There's like a little, I don't know, plug if you like, to fit inside with it. It's got an O-ring on the inside of there. It's part of this arrangement. You have to take all that apart to see it. You don't need to take that apart. So that shaft, that inner shaft, sits over the top of that. You push it and you can just feel a little clunk as it goes onto the O-ring. So once you've got all that nice and clean, just giving it a bit of a grease up at the bottom there. Just pop that straight onto the O-ring. You need to grease the internal and external seals. Just plonk a lot of grease on it. It all dissolves in the suspension oil anyway. And then where are we? Seal lowest down. I've got it. That's how it came out. We'll pop that back in. Right now, you've got to line that up with. So that shaft inside's got to pass through the middle of that. So it sort of self-lines up really. Now then, the 50mm. I can't imagine a couple of millimetres there and there is going to make much difference. I'm just copying what the reverb is, to be honest with you. Then lock your verniers, and you're going to be using this end of it then, see, because that little shaft that's come out your verniers, that's 50mm, that. Okay. So if you just gently push that onto the internal floating piston, that should just push down. Okay. And we're setting that at a depth now. That's just pushed in to 50mm. Okay. Bubbles have all risen to the top. I've scooped them off. Oil's level with the top now. Right. Next part. Okay. I'll be quite delicate with this bit. Now then. So you've got the piston rod with the seal head on. I've taken that seal head off. Just give that a little bit of a grease. There's a little O-ring inside there. Then slide that on. So the bit where we can screw it is sort of uppermost there. And then that just slides onto that shaft like that. Give that little O-ring there, or quad seal, the grease. Right, you've got to be quite careful with this now because we don't want to be forcing this in. So very gently this particular piston goes inside that inner shaft, you'll find that oil spills out, hence the reason why I've got this rag round here now, and then it'll just meet resistance as the seal just enters to the inside of that tube. So if you just steadily, just very, very gradually just press, so you can just feel that seal engage, and then once you screw that onto there, the oil's going to spill out, but at least when the oil spills out, you know that there's as little air as possible trapped in there, because the oil level's as high as it possibly can be. Okay, this is where you need your barrier cream or gloves on, really, because I've spilled quite a bit of oil over my hands then. Now you've got to screw that in so far by hand. Don't be forcing anything. If it doesn't screw in easily, you might have cross-threaded it. It's quite difficult to cross-thread it, but right, I've just rubbed the grease off that now, so I'll just re-grease that seal. Okay. And now, carefully, because you don't want your end of your circlips to be scratching any of these shafts. So once we've got that pressurised, 250 psi, that's that cartridge. That's all finished now. So you can just leave that stuck in your vise for the time being, because we'll just start to put this the upper shaft back together now. Okay, just let me home in on that one. Okay, right. So everything all nice and clean. Give everything a good greasing up on the shaft there, where the slots are for your brass keys and where the bushing goes. You've got your top cap all back together. I think we covered greasing that up earlier in the video, but we'll give that a good greasing up again inside there. A little O-ring inside there, just grease inside there as well. Now then, the top cap simply just slides back onto the upper post. Just slide that up and out of the way. You've got a bushing that goes beneath the top cap. It's got a bit of a top hat arrangement on there, just to have that uppermost. That slides up into the top cap, just leave that up there for the time being. There's no particular orientation on that bush there, so that just pop that on anyway for the moment. Now then, your brass keys, they go into your they press into the slots. Try and put them in evenly, because they do, you can feel them press. If they're on a slight angle, they're not going in quite properly. Just tighten that up just so it bites, and then just give it a slight little extra turn. Doesn't need to be too tight. Okay, right, this is now where we can put this upper post into the lower post. There is an orientation on this. The back of the lower post says Aeffect and has your numbers on. Most posts have the numbers on the back. You'll see from the post itself, it faces downwards. The downwards facing bit faces towards the front of your bike, so the upwards facing bit is the back of the bike. So that's the back of the post. It has got the writing on, actually, on the back of this particular one. Yours may be the same as well, which it says the Newton meters have tightened up for the bolts. And it's also got the pressure on the back part of the where the saddle clamp is as well. So, as we know, these brass keys coincide with slots, predetermined slots inside the post. Okay, so you've got to line those up with the slots inside the lower post. Now also this little plastic bushing now has got a little slot on it as well. So line that up with the brass key that's directly in line with the back of the post. Okay, I'm just going to give this a liberal greasing. Get a bit more extra grease on that because you can't really put too much grease on there. I'm going to give it a good greasing up. That's all inside the post. That's going to be, and then give the inside of the lower post a good liberal greasing as well, because when those brass keys are going up and down in those slots, that's where you want the most lubrication. So get right into there, give that a good greasing up. Right, I've got the back of the post there, the back of the post there, just carefully. Right, now then, this is where, when you took your post apart to start with, and you were putting your bits and pieces that you took off in an order, that's where that comes into play now. So, you've got these little foams that slide onto this piston in the order that you took them off. Okay, then you've got this rubber bumper, I'll call that. Pop that onto there as well. And then you've got the bit that goes onto the to the end of the piston with the little actuator rod there. Now we want that orientated so the two slots on the side correspond with the two holes inside the within the threads there, because when they coincide, these two little pins go into there and hold everything in place. Put them both in before you tighten anything up, and then you're going to need a 2mm, 2mm hex. I'm going to tighten one up halfway, then tighten the next one up halfway, and go back to the other one. Just tighten them up a bit at a time, just so they're done evenly. Tiny little screws like this don't need much torque. Generally, the smaller your hex, the less torque. So just when it bites, just a slight little extra turn. Okay, you can push all those down to the bottom so it meets the where we've just screwed it on. Now then, I'm not going to push that, so that, again, I don't want to disturb this piston. I'm just going to pull this bit up so that your threads engage onto there. We can do this hand tight to start with. So just thread the bottom up hand tight, and then get your wrench. Okay, so once we've nipped that up, that's all back together. Just reverse your post around. If you've given this a clean and an isopropyl, it'll stop your hands slipping when you tighten the top cap up. So just thread the top cap back on now, and then just make sure you've got a good grip on that it's not too slippy with grease, and then give it a good hand tighten. Don't need to do it any more than hand tight. Don't need to bother with your boa straps on that one. That's more for undoing it. Right, that's all back together now. So I'm just going to pop that back in the soft jaws, hold it vertically. I'm just going to give it a quick test. I'm going to use a screwdriver just to pull the actuator down. This is what your cable will do in normal operation, pulling that actuator down Push it down, and then, yeah, that's going up and down good. That's held in place. That's showing that that's holding itself. Pull the actuator rod, and the seat post pops back up again. Yeah, all in good working order, that. What you don't want is when you push the post without the actuator being touched, you don't want to feel any sponginess whatsoever in there. If that's pushing up and down, there's air in the system. You're going to have to do that whole procedure again, because that'll just get worse. So, yeah, just make sure everything's all tightened up. That's not pushing down. That's all done. Don't forget to put your valve cover, don't forget to press that rubber valve cover back into there, and then that'll stop any muck and stuff going into there. So that's ready to be reinstalled back into the bike. Okay, thanks for watching. Click on the logo to subscribe. I do try and post videos regularly, and if there's anything that you do think of that isn't posted, which there obviously will be, just drop me an email, visit the website. I'll try and post something on for you. I might have something in the archives anyway. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.